I create a mood board every season and I want to talk about how and why. Grab your cup of tea and let's dive into it. I used to hate winter, and I don't use that word lightly. It was not a season that I enjoyed at all. I used to count down the days for summer to come. I was born in the late spring and I love to chase summer at every opportunity. And it wasn't up until the last couple of years that I've started to actually really enjoy winter. Here in Australia, where I am, it has just ticked over to winter, and it's one of the first years that I find myself almost as excited as when summer comes around, because I've really started to embrace the season for what it is, and I've started to actually look forward to the change of season. And today I want to talk about how I've rewired my brain to be able to do that, and to also kick my goals into an extra gear with every change of season. So I have to start with the 12-week year, which if you follow this channel, you would know that this is a book that I absolutely love. It is one of my favorite books because it is a complete paradigm shift as to how you perceive time. The authors propose that a 12-week year is not a quarter of the year, it is actually the whole year. And what they are trying to do is take all of that motivation that you experience at the start of the year or at the end of the year and help you to distribute that motivation throughout the year to create a level of urgency that is just a little bit more elevated than the complacency that you can sometimes experience with a full calendar year, where you feel like you have plenty of time to achieve your goals. Now, the 12-week year naturally would, for me anyway, probably start in months like January, in April, in July, and in October. But what I love about tying into the seasons in the environment as well is that that gives you another opportunity within the 12-week year to reset and to just elevate your goals or whatever it is that you are trying to achieve personally and professionally during that time, and to align it to a different milestone because they fall on different months. So it just gives you a nice opportunity to feel that almost start of year feeling throughout the year at potentially now 8 different opportunities in the year. So number 2, I really just started to embrace the season for what it is, and it wasn't necessarily because of the 12-week year. The 12-week year is particularly great when it comes to your professional goals, and if you have any personal goals as well, it is a really interesting format to follow. But me embracing the season actually just started with a friend who used to feel the same way as I did about winter, just saying to me that all she did was start to embrace every season for what it was. And it was just such simple advice, but it really resonated with me because I started to think about the fact that a lot of my favorite things, like tea and Shiraz wine and soup, all thrive in the winter season. And it just got me thinking that there is something really great about every season. And animals do this really well. They really embrace the season for what it is. They build their life around the season and having to align with that. Whereas as humans, I feel like we can sometimes push against that. And I think it's just a nice way to remind yourself to take in the environment around you and understand how that affects your life personally and professionally as well. Because I felt anyway that I didn't actually stop to appreciate until recently that every season has a purpose in your life as well. It reminded me of a message in the Bible that highlights that there is a time to plant and a time to harvest. And it wasn't until recently that I really started to think about the value of each of those periods and aligning that with your goals personally and professionally as well. So for example, winter might be a peak period for your work. So maybe for you, it is a time to really make the most of that opportunity. Or it might be an off season where it is a time to reset, to sow those seeds. So what seeds are you sowing during that time to ensure that you can thrive during the peak periods of your year? And I just think it's a really nice way to, again, almost thinking with that animal mindset, how do you really align with what is happening around you to make sure that you can thrive in the optimal times of the year. 3, I want to talk about my motivating mood board method. So if you are familiar with the idea of mood boards versus vision boards, then you might be aware that a mood board is slightly different to a vision board. A vision board is designed to be very specific. It is designed to highlight your goals in a way that you can activate your reticular activating system in your brain and really start to filter out all of the noise so that your brain knows what to focus on, what you are trying to achieve. Whereas a mood board is a little bit more atmospheric. It is designed to create a feeling and a mood. But what I prefer to do is almost overlay the two ideas. So mine has a lot of aesthetic photos in it, but it is actually quite linked to things that I am trying to achieve for that particular season. I just try and take some of the pressure off in terms of those being professional goals, and I also try and input a lot of personal things into that particular mood board as well. So for example, what I like to do with my mood boards is to include on my mood boards for every season the fruit and vegetables that are in season for that period. And I think that that is a really nice way to just make sure that you are eating healthy or remind yourself what is thriving during that period. And for me, that's just a more holistic way to think about what it is that I'm trying to achieve in that period, and really just thinking about, your health and your mind and body in that time as well. So I also include quotes that are related to that season, and also a few aesthetic photos of goals that I'm trying to achieve during that time too. I also think it is a really nice time as you go from season to season to include things related to your personal style during that season. Tying in personal branding, this is a nice way for you to refine that style a little bit more. So what can go, what can stay, what could be elevated a little bit, what is just perfect the way that it is. This is a nice chance for you to just tap into some of your creativity a little bit from season to season. And I also think it helps in terms of even just shopping season to season too, because you have a much clearer idea of what you want to represent and what you don't. So you just reduce a lot of that waste as well. So number 4, how do I mood board? And if you follow this channel, it may not be a surprise to you that I use Pinterest to mood board. There are several reasons why I opt for Pinterest when it comes to my mood board. For my vision board that I do for the calendar year, I use Canva, and I take pictures off of the internet or off of Pinterest if I need to build that out further as well. But for my mood boards, I love to use Pinterest because number 1, the photos are really aesthetic on there, so it's just a really nice tie-in to more of that atmosphere, mood feeling that you're trying to create with your mood board. And 2, it is a search engine, so you can get really specific about the types of photos that you are looking for on there. And 3, when it comes to the season, some things never change. So what I like about creating my mood boards on Pinterest and using a digital platform for it is that I still have a base to work with from year to year. So you can pick up your mood board from last winter or last summer and work through it, edit it, see what can come off, see what can be added on as your interests continue to evolve from year to year. And some things are probably maybe not going to change. Maybe you still have all of your favorite foods during a particular season. Maybe you've refined your palate more. Maybe you've become healthier, but at least you have that foundation. What I like about that as well is that once you have created those initial mood boards, then it's a nice way to immediately remind yourself going into that change of season what it is that you actually love about that season. Which leads nicely into number 5, which is the timing of creating your mood board. Now, this is probably pretty obviously going to align with the start of the season, but I want to get a little bit more specific because I actually make sure that I start my mood board on the first of that particular season, the very first day that it ticks into that season. And, depending what I have on, maybe I can't do it to its full extent, but I try and make sure that I at least start in some way. So if you are using Pinterest, for example, this might be just making sure that you archive the season just gone and you put your new season back into your current boards, and you can just start on that too. Maybe it's going through your board from last year, or at least starting to put a few different pins on there as well. And what I do as well, while I remember, is I take the season just gone, and if there is anything on there that isn't necessarily related to just the environment, but it is a goal or habit I was trying to create during that time, and it maybe didn't take off the way that I wanted it to, or I really still want it to be a focus going into the next season, I'll make sure that I take that pin and I also put it on the incoming season's new mood board as well, so I can keep that really front and center. This idea of really tapping into the opportunities that you have within the year to have a fresh start is something that I started to read about in a few different books, and one of them was Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin, who, if you're not familiar with her, she also wrote The Happiness Project, which you may have heard of too. And she really talks about the opportunity that you have to create clean slates through your year or through your life, but the key is recognizing those opportunities. And she talks about, bigger life events such as moving house or starting a marriage or ending a marriage, or all of those sort of milestone things that are a little bit more obvious. But what I do like about the change of season is that that is just available to anyone, and that's coming, and you have the opportunity to tap into that to make the most of the season. So wherever you are, whatever season you are experiencing, I hope that you use the opportunity to embrace the season for what it is. Thanks so much. Subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next episode.